Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Here we are coming to you directly from Atascadero, California. And I hope you are having a wonderful day today. We are. It's a little bit warm here, but we are doing great. So we got a great little show all set for you. And we'll go over that in a second. First, say hi to Wes. Hey, Wes.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Whoops, I don't think your camera's working there.
Oh, no.
And Gail's working the message board, so it's a family affair. So that song that I just played is on Green Dolphin Street, which is a tune that we are going to be doing at the workshop coming up. And good grief, that's going to start this coming Sunday. So, man, and you know what? We're sold out. All the rooms at the hotel are sold out. You could probably come if you wanted to, if you booked a off-site accommodations. But on Green Dolphin Street, wonderful, fun song. Now, that's pretty bright. I'm playing that really bright. And we have several lessons on that song, and so it should be a song that's under your belt that you should be playing a lot. It's a good little tune. So
what do we got coming up in the show?
Well,
what do we got coming up?
Okay, let me tell you, we've got Sean McGowan interview, and so get your health questions ready because he's going to be talking about the holistic guitarist, and this is a fantastic book. We'll talk more about it. Sean's also going to play us a little tune. Sean is just a wonderful guitar player, man. Today we're also going to feature two heritage guitars. This one, which is an Eagle Classic, a custom-made one, as well as the one in back of me. We just got in another 575 P90s in black. I'll talk more about that. Matter of fact, I was on the phone this morning with Pete Farmer about this guitar, and so I had a lot of insight into this particular guitar. So we have a full review coming up. So also we're going to talk about an interview. I was talking to you about it last week, about an interview that Chris Montez, who's a friend of mine, with Brian Wilson. He went to high school with Brian, and there's a little 4-minute video we're going to take a look at, and that's going to be neat.
Yeah, it's when they first reunited after 50 years. It's the first time they've ever seen each other in like 50 years. And they got it all on camera. It's pretty cool, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I have. I watched it when it first came out. That was quite a while ago. But yeah, it's pretty good. Yep. We'll show that video.
For sure. And then I got a bunch of stuff too. The CEO of Guitar Center. Why was he at a Guitar Center location cleaning a bathroom? He's doing some undercover boss stuff, trying to clean up Guitar Centers. So that's an interesting story. And then what's the biggest pain in the ass when it comes to learning guitar? There's like 3 or 4, 5 humps that everyone faces when they're a guitar player, but which one is the hardest one? There's one that this one guy says this hump will either make you or break you as a guitar player. So
you're going to talk about that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then again, yeah, if you guys are just joining us for the first time, we go live every single Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you get the notifications so you don't miss a show or any of the stuff that we post. And then you gotta chat. Ask any guitar related questions you have about anything: repairs, strings, hardware, gear. Also, you have any questions about what you're working on. Say you're working on a tune and you need some advice, or you're working on some concept 251s or something, you need some help, ask away in the chat. And then for Sean especially, Sean's gonna have a wealth of information, so ask questions there, and then just chime in about everything.
That's right.
Just chime in about everything. But let's see who's here. We got Mike Brandenburger was the first guy in. No, Jeffrey Boyle, first guy in here with his peace sign.
Jeff.
What's up, Jeff? Mike Brandenburger's in Dallas. Tony Cook is here. Looking forward to hearing about Sean's book, he says. Let's see. Oh, Don Spain's up in Tahoe today, en route to Jazz Camp. Pit stop in Tahoe. That's a
nice diversion there.
No, really smart.
I love Tahoe. Tahoe is so cool.
Let's see. Big Steve from Olympia is here. Rodney T in San Diego. Gordon in the UK. Adrian's in NorCal. Jim Rolfe's down in Moorpark. What's up, buddy? Patrick McConnell. Are we supposed to be watching commercials, or is it live on a different feed? No, it is this feed. That is just the intro. That's why there is a countdown to where it says the show starts at. When the countdown ends, that's when the show starts. So if you're watching this on the replay, you can fast forward right through that. David Bronson's in Florida, and let's see, Gordon already said hi. Rob's here, and Frank in Texas. What's up, Frank?
Frank.
And Pat McConnell, again, he's in Fresno, by the way.
All right.
Yep. Let's see.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then for anyone, who's new to Guitar College, we got all kinds of stuff for you to check out. Here's all our essential learning materials. We got coaching. We got live group Zoom lessons. We have a library full of 600 plus guitar lessons. We've got various specialized courses for you to check out. We have actually 3 killer lessons for free right now. We just added this Surfer Girl lesson last week, which a lot of you guys got. Hopefully you guys been doing it. If you guys have done the Surfer Girl lesson and you've made it all the way through, let us know how it went in the chat. We'd love to hear about it. And then a couple other free lessons for you to grab. And then finally, the newest thing, Guitar College Store. This is where we're putting some of our new courses and stuff like that. So tons of stuff for you to check out. But I almost actually forgot events and workshops. So yeah, we got the workshop coming up this Sunday, and then the Central Coast Jazz Guitar Fest as well. And we've been doing some work on reverb, right?
That's right. Well, Natalie has. My other daughter, she's been listing a bunch of stuff that we've had sitting around, and time to get rid of. It's just, we're tripping over it all. Got a looper there. I've got a neck pickup of a TV Jones. We got some other stuff. It's already sold.
Yeah,
a few of the things just sold right away. It's crazy.
Yeah, we had a couple of items that sold in like less than a minute. A Furman Patch Bay thing was on for like 1 minute, and then someone bought it.
Well, that was a steal.
It wasn't that much less than all the other ones on there.
Really?
No. I mean,
we
sold it for $35. I think the next one up was $40. It's not
really?
like there was like a shortage of them.
Boy, those are really handy, when you need them.
And which we do not need. That is a fact.
Yeah. So we don't have any guitars on reverb. I've never sold any. I've never sold a guitar on reverb. Only bought them, but I've sold some strings. All those leftover E strings and B strings, 10s and 14s. Actually, I haven't even put the 10s on there. I've got about 300 10s. I need to do that. Get rid of all that stuff. And
we do need to go through some of your old, like the guitars, the non-jazz guitars that you have. There's like kids guitars back in that closet. There's a bunch of random, we need to sell all that stuff too.
That would free up some room, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for real stuff that you actually use.
Especially since I bought another guitar coming in. ES5. Gibson ES5. But I'm a little leery because I haven't heard from the seller. Usually people, respond right away. Oh, thanks for buying it. I'm going to ship it out, blah, blah, blah. This guy's silence.
This will be coming up on the for sale page as soon as it comes in. If you guys haven't checked this out, the Guitar College for sale page, we got tons of guitars on here, including the ones we're going to talk about today. But go through them and check them out, man. There's a bunch on there for sure.
Also, wanted to talk about our live classes. So those are super fun, and we've been doing these deep dives into things, and I think they're pretty good. And we're going to be doing more. But you know what I need? I need some topics, because we're going to start doing some of these in August and September. And I need some topics that might things that interest you guys, that you would like to have a deep dive on. So far, we've done like the altered dominant natural 5 scale, the diminished scale, rethinking, or stacking arpeggios, rethinking scales. We've done a lot of these things. And I think they're pretty eye-opening. Mm-hmm. But we need some more topics.
Yeah, especially like tunes that you guys maybe want to go deep on, or specific topics that, like 251 type of stuff. Any sort of topic that you think would be good, please throw it in the chat right now, because that would be helpful. We are trying to load up the schedule for back to school. Back to school, Guitar College going to have a big push for back to school at the late August into September. So we're loading up our calendar for then. So if you have ideas, definitely email us and let us know about them. You can also just send us an email too if you want. Right there. Give us a call too. Yeah.
Right on.
And let us know what you think. Let us know what classes you like, and yeah.
So like I said, our camp starts on Sunday. It's going to be a blast. We sold the last room available. I don't think we've ever sold out the whole camp. So we have the whole camp to ourselves, which is pretty neat. So we have about 36 guitar players, 10 bass players, and then we make up groups. And Todd Johnson is the finest bass player and finest teacher for bass you're ever going to want to meet. And he's going to be playing with all the guys, him and Gary Newmark. Gary Newmark is a fantastic drummer. And, you know, when you think about a drummer, you think that, I remember when I first started playing with Gary, I said, you know what, man? Him and his bass player friend, Roy Carlson, I said, you guys are like riding in a Cadillac. Man, it's just so smooth. And there's no bumps in the road. Everything just flows. And you'll experience that when you get to hear these guys and play with them. Big difference. Amazing, you know. So anyway, yeah, we're the dates for next year are already set, but I have to update the site, and we'll have you'll be able to order your you'll be able to put your deposit down for next year, next June. I think it's the 14th through the 19th, and you'll be able to put a deposit down for $200 deposit. Will secure your spot. And I'll have info on that coming out. We'll have info on that coming out after this camp is over. Right after it's done, it'll be ready to rock and roll. So a lot of people sign up right after. A lot of people sign up at camp, the camp, yeah,
for next year.
Yep. Guaranteed their spot, you know. And the single rooms are the first to go. So, yeah, if you want a single room, you better sign up. Wes, you've been working on this live stream all week, haven't you? Yeah, so look if you guys like this live stream, please show your appreciation. Give Wes a tip. I think he'd appreciate it. We all would appreciate it. He does work hard on this particular show.
I do, yeah. This it's fun though.
You've got this experience, CBS and ABC experience. You want to make it like a freaking television show or something.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make it good. I just don't want to sit here and talk, and I don't know. I want to have stuff to, you know. I know how to do it all too. That's a really lucky thing, is like on top of just, you know, knowing how to put a show together, doing all the little elements for it, like cutting all the video and all the little graphics, and so now that I know how to do it all, it's fun, and I can do it all quickly. It's definitely a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you guys for giving me tips. You guys definitely do that a lot, and very generous, so I appreciate that. There's a link in the description and then probably in the chat as well. Let's see who else is.
Before we get to Sean, I think we got some questions.
Yeah.
We ought to hit those.
Jason Bernstein's here. He's from
Jason.
New Orleans. He's not going to make it to camp this year, but he's an accelerator student.
Yeah.
But he's been to camp. Adrian says, what do you use when you play a blues? I've heard you go way outside the box. Can you explain what you do to make it so hip?
That would be a live class right there.
Yeah.
Well, basically, you know, if you're playing over chords that aren't like necessarily there. So if we're playing a blues, just to jump on it real quick, if we're in C, you know, we always do that sidestepping to the next chord. So anything you do harmonically, you can do melodically. So did you kind of hear the chords move there? So I'm playing around this particular progression, and then an altered dominant to F, and then a G7 chord to take me back to C, and then maybe another G chord, and then another C, and then a G minor, and then C. They all happen super fast. So it's being a jazz is your ability to play over changes, whether they're being played in the rhythm section or not. So it sounds like you're going outside the box, but to be honest, you're super inside a box. It's just a different box. Makes sense? But you might experience that. You know, I've got a bebop course, and on the library, a lot of bebop lessons. I would say start right there. Start at, and you'll pick up a lot of things from that. So, hope that helps you.
Awesome. Let's see. And then David Bronson's here. He says, guys stopped me in the Publix grocery store, asked me about my Central Coast Jazz Guitar Fest t-shirt. Think he might be joining us next
Oh,
spring.
no kidding.
Nice job. I wanted to wear our Yosemite shirts because we do a shirt now each year, and I wanted to wear them. They're really cool this year. Really cool color. So you guys are going to be stoked when you get to see those. All right. Yeah. So we ready to get to Sean?
Yeah, let's get to Sean.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Sean. So for those of you guys who don't know, Sean is an excellent guitarist. He's also a professor at the University of Denver, and he's just very, very talented and the most humble, easygoing guy. And he's just a wealth of information. Such a good teacher. But he's been at our Central Coast Jazz Guitar Fest for the last couple years, and we really appreciate him being there. And here's a little taste of what he did this last year. Oh, that's not it. It is this one.
Okay. Well, here we have Sean, and I have his book, The Holistic Guitarist. And this book is one thick book. And I was just telling Sean how deep he goes into, well, not only physical health, mental health. And also, there's a lot of guitar playing exercises in here. There's a lot of quotes from the different people concerning injuries and health and everything. So, Sean, you just did a freaking excellent job on this. Excellent.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah. So hi everybody, good to see you all. Great to see you, Rich and Wes,
Yeah.
and hi Gail out there. Good to see you all. Rich and I were just talking about how much fun this year's Central Coast was, and it felt like it was a year ago now, more than just a few months ago. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's summer already.
Yeah, crazy. Time flies when you're. Yeah, that was in March. I mean, it was really just a few months ago. A couple.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Just to think about that. But it's always such a great weekend.
Yeah, you don't want it to end.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, you guys, for having me on today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really stoked about this book. It just came out. This is my fifth book that I've written with String Letter Publishing, the publishers of Acoustic Guitar Magazine, and it's distributed by Hal Leonard. But this was different for me because whereas my other books were more method books and mostly music, transcriptions and a lot of, jazz guitar method, fingerstyle guitar method, things like that. This is a book that's been on my mind and kind of in my heart for close to 30 years now. And it addresses a lot of things, a lot of subjects that I felt in my education when I was much younger, no one really ever talked about. At least I never experienced a lot of people that talked about
Right.
how to stay healthy, how to avoid physical injuries, cumulative trauma, carpal tunnel. I mean, we've all seen the horror stories of people that lose their ability to play, or it's impacted for a little while. And it's just, I've found it kind of glaringly absent from formal or even informal guitar lessons, pedagogy. We just don't talk about this stuff. And then, so that's kind of the first part. I guess the book is, for me, I wrote it in thirds. That's the first third of the book. The second part is mental wellness strategies, and those run from how to deal with performance anxiety to just improving concentration,
That's a big one.
visualization, memorizing music, things like that. And there's also just a little, there's a chapter in there called The Spirit of a Musician, which is just about all these different ways to stay optimistic amidst the challenges of being a musician, whether you're a professional musician or not, just really recognizing the joy and beauty of playing an instrument. And then there's a lot of technical stuff in there. There's a 30-page chapter on technique, and then there's a couple of chapters on how to stay creative, how to keep the spark, alive, and how to practice in different ways that really promote creativity, so that you're never bored when you're practicing. A lot of times people, especially when they get more advanced or learn more material, practicing itself can be a little overwhelming. So it's like, well, what do I do? How do I organize my time? What should I be focusing on? These are questions that we all ask. And so there's a couple of chapters specifically laid out to addressing just practicing in a fun and creative way that helps improve. And then finally, the last chapter in the book is called Good Medicine, Advice for the Long Haul. And I just reached out to some really good friends and guitar heroes of mine of what they thought about staying, what do they do to stay healthy? There's people like Eric Johnson, Alex DeGrassi, Grant Gordy, Vicky Genfin, Lawrence Juber, Clive Carroll, a lot of really great players that just offer their thoughts about how they stay inspired, how they stay healthy, how they stay in the mental game. So I'm really happy how it came out.
Oh yeah, and it's a great read. I mean, it's just the way it's presented. I don't want to sound like I'm in third grade, but it's got a lot of pictures, which is nice.
Well, no, that's very intentional. When I was talking with my editors, Lizzie Lesterman and Joey Lesterman, who run String Letter, and also Adam Perlmutter, I told them that I wanted it to be like an inspiring book, like a book that you can just pick up. I didn't want it to be a super heavy read, a medical journal, nothing like that.
Right,
it's accessible. It's for guitar players. And you know how when you pick up a really cool guitar book or a cookbook or something like that, there's poetry, there's inspiration, there's photos, there's cool quotes, and I wanted it to be like that, as opposed to this real rigid, like, warning medical piece kind of thing, or
Right.
And I just also wanted to mention real quick, because a lot of people have asked, it comes in print format like you have there, but it also comes in a PDF format, and both of those formats come with several hours of video where you can just
that's right.
download them for free, and it shows me doing like stretches and postural exercises as well as playing all of the music. And there's lots of etudes and things to play in there. So I didn't want it to be like this dry, boring book. I wanted it to be enjoyable to pick up and read.
Yeah, well, it certainly is. Yeah, so that's that was the thing when I'm starting on the book, and I'm like looking through it. And I'm thinking, well, this is very interesting. I mean, it's just visually beautiful, and it's inspiring. It's you really hit it out of the park. I don't know how else to say it. There's
No,
nothing
cool,
like
thanks.
this, and really everybody. The beautiful thing about it's for all styles. Whether you're a classical player or a metal player, jazz player, country player, whatever. Your health is so important, because I've known so many guys that when, they're done, stuff happens, and
Yeah.
and they go in for operations, and then they have recovery time that is always twice as long as what they tell you it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you're never the same. And so it's like, gee, why not just take care of it so you don't have to go through all that stuff?
Yeah, it's so true. We wanted to write a book that was like, as you said, it doesn't matter what style you play, pick finger style, jazz, rock, anything. Doesn't matter how long you've been playing, your ability, or how old you are. Like, this is truly a book that we created for all ages, all abilities, and all styles. And it's really just kind of, creating an awareness of everything, like an awareness of ergonomics, how you interface with your guitar, how you sit and stand with your guitar, how you just go about your day-to-day business, whether it's hauling gear to a gig or working on a computer, sitting at your desk, whatever it is. So it involves like principles of ergonomics, and also things borrowed from Alexander technique and Feldenkrais and different bodywork methodologies that have really worked for musicians over the years.
Yeah, and gosh, being like, even guys that haven't been playing long, what a great way to start off right.
Yeah, right. That's right.
It-
Yeah,
you know,
just doing things like warm-ups and stretches, and just being aware of your posture and all of those things. Earlier when you and Wes were talking about like those hurdles, of like the different stages of guitar playing, and I think that there's different types of hurdles. There's the physical ones, initially developing calluses, playing a bar chord, and then later on it's more like mental or stylistic hurdles, improvising, playing over changes or whatever. But man, playing bar chords is like the worst thing that you can do on guitar. And
Isn't it?
that's how most people start. It's like, okay, let's start off by playing the hardest and worst thing that you can do on a guitar, bar chords.
That is so true, man. I can't play them anymore.
Oh man, forget about it. I never play bar chords. Like, it's awful. I can play about 2 and then I'm done.
Yeah.
But that's a good example of, I've met a lot of people over the years that, like singer-songwriters, for example, they just feel like they have to play those big, full 6-string bar chords, and they're hurting their wrists, their hands are cramping up, and they're miserable. And it's like, wow, you don't have to do that at all. That's a perfect example of, people will say, well, I never even thought about it. Like, I thought that was the only way to do it,
Right.
or just suffer with super high action or a guitar that doesn't fit their body, whatever it is.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, when I think about how long it took me to be able to play a bar chord, and now I can't play one, and don't even care if I do.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, Mitch Holder told me Howard Roberts quit playing for Phil Spector because of a G barred chord that he wanted him to play over and over and over, and he said he hurt his wrists from doing it. And so after a while, if Phil Spector calls, I'm busy.
Oh, that's funny.
That
Great.
is funny, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
crazy. I don't want to say spiritual. I want to say the mental thing involved in this book is so something that we avoid. We don't. We're always learning new knowledge and new stuff and trying to make it all work. And then, of course, we can't make it work. And then we start realizing I'm not that happy now because now I'm bummed. I can't do it. I'm not growing or whatever. We think we're not. But some of these mental things that you're talking about doing, and I think are so important. And when I'm looking at videos, like we were just talking about Paul McCartney, and I look at what he does in his meditation, his yoga, that kind of stuff, and probably one of the most creative guys on the planet.
Yeah.
But what he has to do to stay, and he still is creative, and he still does all that stuff. That is so important because I think each one of us is a creative being, and we want to create. And whether it's an improv solo or a new method of playing something or writing a song or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we need to learn how to focus that energy and take care of it.
Totally. Yeah. And a lot of it is just lowering the bar in practice, just keeping things simple, and really making sure that you're enjoying it. Of course, there's a lot of hard work involved in improving, but playing is the key word, right? That's the operative word, is play and have fun with it. And so I talk about a lot of that in the creative practicing chapters. But just going back to what you mentioned in chapter 4 is called Mental Wellness and Growth Mindset. And you're right. It's like really important to like be aware of that. And one of the ways that I found is really powerful, especially if you can't always have a guitar with you, like if you're traveling on an airplane or you're at work on lunch break, whatever it is. Visualization can take on a lot of different things. So for example, visualization can range from visualizing your sound. I mean, that would be kind of like a more advanced thing to explore, right? What do you sound like? What is your style? Visualize how you look and sound on stage, those kinds of professional things. But it can also be as pragmatic as just visualizing scales or fingering, right? Or a new chord voicing that you learn. So, if you're working, let's say somebody is taking a lesson with you, Rich, and you were just talking about blues, so you've got a couple of blues things. It can be really powerful for somebody away from the guitar to kind of close their eyes and picture in your mind what the fretboard looks like, how are you going to finger it, how are you going to move from one chord to the next. And, so you can visualize, and this will help memorize too, like you can visualize the melody to Green Dolphin Street, just exactly where you would finger it and all of those kinds of things. And then you can even challenge yourself by saying, like modulating it. Like what if you're, like say if you're playing it in C, can you play it in your mind in D flat? You can create all kinds of really cool visualization exercises that will help bolster your playing. And then when you go to pick up the guitar, it's like it's there, or you're a lot closer than you were before. Neurologists talk about like when you're really thinking about doing something with intention and a lot of focus, as far as your brain is concerned in the frontal cortex, there's not a whole lot difference what's happening up here than really focusing on it in your mind and then actually playing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to work out the chops and the fingering, all that dexterity, but 9 times out of 10, even like almost 9.9 times out of 10, if I can't do something technically, or if I'm seeing a student wrestle with something, the problem is in the mind more than in the hands. You know what I mean? If you can, like, if you're working on a transcription, Sonny Rollins lick, whatever it is, can you go through and play that lick without stopping in your mind? And if you forget it, or like it starts to go fuzzy or dark or whatever, then that means you just need to slow it down. And I remember I read an interview a long time ago with Johnny Smith, one of my heroes, and he would talk about how he would just kind of stare, like the guitar would be in its stand, and he would just kind of stare at the neck, and see these patterns. Sometimes people talk about like constellations in the sky, right? Like all of the stars are up there, but you start to see these little patterns, and that's what they're like with scale patterns, chord voicing patterns. And Wes Montgomery was a big one too. Like he was visualizing all the time. And there's a lot of Wes quotes that I borrow in my book where he just talked about visualization and hearing lines.
Yeah, that visualization is super important. Yeah, I have my students, if you to find a comfortable chair and take the music and look at it and picture in your mind you playing it where your fingers are going, and if you get confused, you gotta sit down and you gotta figure that out, because that's a stumbling block right there. So that is super important. It's your brain that plays the dang thing, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm glad that you have your students do that. Bill Cannon-Geyser, great classical guitar player, one of the founders of Los Angeles Guitar Quartet, LAGQ.
Oh yeah.
He talks about that, and I was fortunate to get a really nice endorsement from him talking about the book. But he's very much into wellness and wellness for guitar players, and he does that at USC. And but he talks about how he make for himself as well as his students, you have to memorize this piece and be able to play this classical guitar piece in your mind before it's ready for the stage or the recording studio. And even though in jazz, we're improvising, it's the same thing. Like you can try to if you have an arrangement, like a chord melody arrangement, try to do that in your mind, but you can picture improvising in your mind. You don't need the guitar. Like if you want to blow over changes, you can try to hear it and see what that might look like on the fretboard in your mind with your eyes closed. I'll do that a lot if I'm just sitting on the couch or whatever. I'm just kind of chilling, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll start thinking about changes and what kind of lines I might play over that, and it can be really powerful.
Oh yeah, and that is so true that the brain. There's not a whole lot of difference between actually doing it and you visualizing it. So that is so true.
If you're short on time too, a lot of times people will come to me and they're like, I only have a half an hour a day to play. I've got a family, I've got a job, I've got kids, well, whatever. Everybody's busy, By being intentional about your practice time and organizing it, and a practice journal can be really helpful with that. Nobody needs 8 hours a day to practice, that's kind of a myth anyway. And quite honestly, you stand the chance of hurting yourself if you do that. So it's really important to just, practice in short, little intense breaks. A lot of people like the Pomodoro technique, set a timer or whatever.
Right.
But you don't need to be physically strenuous and just laboring over the guitar all day long. In fact, it's better if you don't do that. Right. Save your energy, save your hands, and you can get a lot of work done by writing stuff down, writing music on a piece of paper, or in a program, or just doing it in your mind.
Right. Yeah. And doing it till it hurts is not a really good idea. It's kind of like, if you bend over to pick up something and it's out of reach and you force yourself to pick it up, and now you just tweak your back.
Oh man,
it's the same thing, really. Don't force yourself to.
In addition to all that too, one of the things that I talk about in the injury prevention chapter is basically. Chapter 2 is kind of like a comprehensive overview of the idiosyncratic injuries that guitar players tend to get. And those tend to be tendinitis, all of the various forms of tendinitis, carpal tunnel, of course, but also back problems, lower back, upper thoracic outlet syndromes, as well as there's pages in there on how to take care of your hearing. And then chapter 3 is a comprehensive list of wellness resources, what you can do to help if you have some of these problems. But, I think the good news is that a lot of this is really preventative, right? If you can adopt some of these preventative strategies, such as practicing shorter, taking frequent breaks, and stretching and warming up and just kind of taking it easy. And there's a section in those chapters that's called NMAs for non-musical activities. And that's something that's really important too. And I share a bunch of anecdotes in there, but just to tell you just one quick story. I had a student years ago, back when I was living in Maine. I was teaching at University of Maine, and he was a great guitar player. He had a very fluid, wonderful technique. He sounded great, and he was playing without tension, and everything was cool. All of a sudden, he started coming into lessons, and his right hand, his picking wrist, was really like lighting up. You know, he would feel the pins and needles sensations and have pain, and it was bothering him quite a bit. And nothing had changed about his practicing or his technique or anything. So I just started asking him what else was going on in his life. You know, like, has anything changed? Just like maybe doctors will ask you those things.
Right, right.
And so come to find out, he was a college student. He was broke. He needed to get whatever job he could. He just got a job working at like a meat cutting.
Oh, yeah.
Where he had this like big knife, and he basically was like cutting pieces of steak for 6 hours at a time without taking a break. And within a week, I mean, he just was like, his right hand was ruined. So you know, I made him quit his job and get another one, and then it just went away. But that's an example, and there are other stories in there of just to be mindful and be aware of even things that are away from the guitar. And for a lot of people, the culprit is like working on the laptop,
Right.
you know, or just doing things excessively.
Yeah, yeah, that laptop, man, and with your hand on the mouse, and it's on, and pretty soon the 2 hours have gone by, and you know, it's like when I went to the chiropractor just recently, we have a new one, you know, and he says, "Well, it's about as good as it's going to get after playing guitar for 60 years," and and I'm like,
Well,
yeah.
I would say that you're doing a lot of things right, Rich, to be able to still play, and that's good. And you know, one time, like when I was doing research for this book for a long time, you know, every time I had the opportunity to be with somebody who was older than me and had been doing it for a long time, I would just, you know, casually ask them that, like, hey, so like, what do you do? Do you have any kind of a routine that you do to stay healthy or well or whatever? And I remember one time when I was in school, I had the opportunity to be. Pat Metheny came and he did like a 3-day workshop.
Oh, nice.
And I think that there are few guitar players that have been playing as long and as regularly as him, right? I mean, he's been touring the world since he was, you know, 18 or 19. And so I asked him, and he said basically, he's like, you know, if you see me play or if you see pictures of me play, it looks like it's really intense. You know, he's all kind of like crumpled up and things like, you know, feeling the music. But he's like, but in fact, he's cultivated this technique of being able to play with intensity, but without tension. And he said, if you were to come up behind me on stage and just kind of poke the guitar, it would just fly right out of my hands. And that's how loosely and softly he plays. And a lot of times when I've met great players, they have like real soft hands, you know, real buttery. They never play too hard. It's always, you know, it's you can play aggressively and with intensity, but also cultivate a way that's not holding excessive tension. Because that's the culprit. That's one of them right there. You don't want to play too hard, and that takes a long time to work on. But clearly, he's done it, as have so many others that have been playing for as long as and intensively as he has.
Yeah, that's good advice. I tell guys, turn up your amp as loud as you can stand it, and play as soft as you can. You know what I mean? So that. Yeah, the louder you play, the more attack, the more tense. If you let the amp do the work and play soft.
Yeah, that's really true. Don't fight your guitar. Let the amp do some work. Let everything be part of the equation.
Yeah, that is such a good point. Yeah. Wow. How does somebody get your book?
I think that there's a link. Well, you can get it through my website, which is
that's probably the best way, huh?
Yeah, I think Wes posted it on the YouTube page there, the live stream, but it's SeanMcGowanGuitar.com, and that's the most immediate way to get it, because then I'll get that order and I'll ship it right out to you. You can also get it on the AcousticGuitar.com website, especially if you prefer the PDF version, which some people do. Some people like having it on the tablet. You can get that format on the AcousticGuitar.com website. It's actually store.acousticguitar.com. And if you just search my name, it'll come right up. And it's also on Amazon and, you know, other traditional online booksellers. But yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And with both of those formats, there's just a little code in the book that will bring you to a website where you can download all of the videos and you can watch me play all of the musical excerpts and do the stretches. And And keep in mind, this is not like intense. This isn't like a hit workout or intense aerobics. It's just real simple, very practical things that are easy to do. We're all guitar players, that you can just like, oh, hey, I hadn't thought about that before, and they're easy to integrate into your little warm-up regimen and things that you can do to sit, just little tricks. So I demonstrate those in the video so you can actually see me do it and talk about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is the book available in like a PDF format?
Yeah. So it's if you go to the acoustic guitar store, which is, the website is store.acousticguitar.com. You go to the Holistic Guitarist page there, and it'll give you a little drop-down menu. You can order it either as a physical book or a PDF.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And both come with the videos. Yeah, both come with like hours of demonstration videos.
Sweet. Yeah, Alan asked about that. And then Rodney T has a question here for you. Can you talk about nutrition and how it affects hand health as I eat my 20-piece McNugget meal for lunch?
Okay, well, I'm not a licensed nutritionist or anything like that. We get into that in the chapters of kind of like the pillars of health. So to the extent that we talk about nutrition, and also the last chapter where other people are talking about how to stay healthy on the road, when I've interviewed musicians, a lot of people will go to great lengths to be able to travel, because if any of you have toured before, you know how hard it is to eat on the road. It's like you're trying to eat at late hours of the night, or all that's open is like a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven with those nasty hot dogs, whatever. So it's just, again, it's kind of just changing some of these habits, like if you're on the road driving, preparing your food in advance. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I played and toured in rock bands for years with dudes, right? It was like dudes in the van, and then you stop at the 7-Eleven after, so I'm speaking from experience here, and you get whatever. And then later on, I played in a band with all women, which included my wife. It was before we were married at the time. But it's funny because it was like, all of a sudden it was so different. They had like packed food that they had cooked and prepared all day, of like organic salads and greens, legumes and beans and tofu and all of this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's quite a different from most of the experiences that I've had. And also what I talk about in the book is when I was younger as a solo guitar player, I played with some dance companies, where I would just play solo guitar to modern dance companies. And that was really cool too. That was kind of like formulating the beginning of all of this in my mind, because it was a way to see that different artists approached performances in different ways than the musicians that I had been working with. And so oftentimes what happens is people will do this preventatively, or they'll have some kind of a medical event. So it's not just guitar players, but I have a friend of mine who's a great recording engineer. Well, he would sit in the studio for like 12 hours a day, just sitting and not moving and, working at the console. And he had a heart attack. And so after that, thankfully he survived that. But after that, it was like clean, so now when you go into the studio, he's got like fresh carrots, raw vegetables. So they're just the basic guidelines of eating whole foods, eating unprocessed foods, and not just sitting static, whether it's playing guitar or at a board all day long, just getting up and moving around and doing things to mix it up. And if you're on the road as a musician or you're playing gigs late at night, that's hard to do. It requires a little bit of discipline. So pack some of your own food that's healthier, and just try to avoid eating late at night. Eat before. I mean, it's different for everybody, but just those general guidelines I think will help.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I'm just going through that now, just trying to really take care of. Not that I ate bad in the beginning, but Gail's been very health conscious.
Yeah. Well, Rich, a mutual friend of ours, Pat Kelly, he's a great guitar player, very healthy. He's like fanatical about that stuff.
Yeah.
About like eating clean and eating great. And my wife is a drummer. I just mentioned her, and she studied a lot of West African drumming. And one time she did this concert. It was a great concert with her teacher. It was this master djembe player, Famadou Konate. And those guys came over from Guinea, and they were like, there was all this food there after the gig, and they didn't touch any of it, like only whole foods. And he was a guy at the time, I think he was close to 70, and he looked like he was about in his late 30s, like
Really?
absolute, like no processed food, no soda, nothing artificial, no sugar, just lean and clean.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I have to remember this. Rob Riggs, an old friend of mine, good friend from high school days, he said, "Don't forget Telecaster rib." He had a problem with playing a Telecaster, and he had all this pain, and it turned out to be a rib that got screwed up from playing this telly. all
Yeah,
this time.
yeah. That's a real thing. I'll just share with you real quick because it's related to that, and it happens to a lot of people, and people don't talk about it. But years ago, I was experiencing like chest pain, like right on my sternum. And when you have chest pain, it can be indicative of a lot of different things. But of course, a lot of people immediately go right to like, oh my gosh, so like I'm having a heart attack or heart problems or whatever. And also it took me a while to get the correct diagnosis on it, even though now that I know what it was, it makes sense. But it's just important to like, and we talk about this in the book, sometimes your GP may or may not know. Like, it's important if you've got something serious happening, it's really important to go to a physician or an MD or anybody that really knows about guitar and has worked with musicians. That, maybe a GP won't know those finer points. But what was happening with me, which reminds me of your friend, it was called costochondritis, and it was basically an inflammation because at the time I was playing a big bodied guitar, and it was just I was holding it too tight to my chest. I was really like kind of focusing on kind of like bending over a little bit, and it was just pressing into my chest with all these long gigs and practice sessions. And what it was an inflammation in my ribs and sternum, that whole area right there. It was really sensitive to the touch. So as soon as it was diagnosed correctly, I changed up my practicing immediately, and I haven't had any problems since. And this was, like 12 years ago.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, but that rib thing with guitars and stuff, that's a real thing. So, a lot of guitars these days, like archtops with modern builders like Tad Brown and Tyler Wells, people that are coming to Central Coast, they're building, like there's like the guitar body on the side is tapered a little bit. They're a little thinner. Everybody's different, right? Everybody's different size bodies and things like that. But, another thing you have to be careful of if you're playing a guitar that's too big or too deep. I had some issues, again, like 15 or so years ago with my ulnar nerve, which is the nerve that just passes on the inside of your arm. And it was just like I was playing a large guitar, and it was just kind of always like this, and then this part of the nerve got inflamed. And I went and had some acupuncture, and it fixed it right up. And then ever since then, I've personally avoided guitars that were too wide and too deep that would kind of, impinge that part of my arm. And then I started noticing a lot of guitar players, people like Tommy Emmanuel, for example, that part of their arm doesn't even touch the guitar. And it's harder for us because we're playing boxes, right? We're playing larger, and I love archtops. I don't want to give those up. So it's just, so there's different ways that you can change your posture a little bit. You can get a thinner archtop if you have one built for you. You can get it made with like the little wedge that's tapered off so it just folds into your body comfortably. There's things you can do.
Yeah. Well, I was always taught to play, when you pick up the guitar, you hold it like a rifle. And you play it like this. Like you're Elvis or something,
Right.
So, and the neck is way down here, and you're screwing up your wrist, and then and after a while, my shoulder just, I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So I sold out all my archtops. I got a Chet Atkins nylon string, a little thing like that, and started playing like that, and that all went away. And then after a while, then I realized I wanted to play some archtops, and I picked up the archtop and started playing like this with the strap, and I haven't had any of those problems again. And so, because you got the guitar down like this, and you're trying to play a bar chord, and you're like, this is all jacked up. God. Geez.
Yeah, and it's true, and it's hard to be like, some people do it and they're not even aware of what they look like. So unless they have a teacher, that will point those things out. But yeah, it's true. Like a lot of people will play guitar, where it's kind of like, out to the side instead of at more of like a 45-degree-ish angle. Like Joe Pass is a great example of that kind of posture, what you want. And or it's facing down, or their thumb is like up here or going sideways, and it's like they get into very unnatural postures, but they're not even aware of it because we're so focused in our heads about the music or the changes or whatever. So when talk with your teacher about it, but also a good thing to do is just take videos of yourself on the phone and just check yourself out, and not only your hands and your guitar, but like your neck and your shoulders, if they're like, real kind of like jacked up one to the side or the other, or how's your back, how do your legs look? A lot of people are guilty of like what their feet look like. Their one foot is like twisted up on the ankle and the other, and then they get up after 20 minutes and their ankles are killing them, or they're falling asleep or whatever. Little things like that are very important, actually.
Yeah, Alan Alan Goyne, our viewer, said he put up mirrors in his studio so he could kind of monitor how he looks when he's standing there. He saw pictures of himself playing and was like, "Oh wow," hunched over.
That's really smart. Frederick Matthias Alexander of the Alexander Technique, that's exactly what he did. He was an actor and a singer, and this was in the late 1800s, so there wasn't any technology to record himself, but that's exactly what he did. He put mirrors up in his room, and after going to many doctors at the time what was happening to him was he was losing his voice intermittently, though, so it was like no rhyme or reason. Sometimes he'd have his voice on stage, and sometimes it was gone. And no one could help him out. No one could figure it out. So basically, after an intensive self-inquiry through the practice of watching himself sing and speak in front of mirrors, he realized that he had a serious postural problem where he was holding excessive tension up in this whole area, and it was causing his voice to drop out.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy.
And then one other quick question here from Arthur. He says he's noticing your posture. Can you talk about your guitar positioning and the chair?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of details and photos and step-by-step instructions in the book. But real quick, I'm not in an ideal position right now because I'm kind of like crimped up and I'm staring down at my laptop. But here's one thing that you can do right now. You can try. Let me see if I can show you real quick. I think the most important thing to do is learn how to sit first without the guitar in a chair.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting in a chair. My back isn't touching it or whatever. But like one thing that you can do is try to put your hands on your hips. You can do this if you have a guitar on, it doesn't matter, but find your pelvis in there and slouch on purpose. And this is actually how most people kind of like, so if I'm on the side view, I'm like slouching like this, I'm exaggerating it, but you get the idea. Well, if your hands are on your pelvis, you'll find that your pelvis is pointed up like that, kind of towards the ceiling, right? So if you simply roll the pelvis forward, and even now, like on my computer camera, you can see what's happening to my upper body. All I'm doing is like, if I'm slouching, your pelvis is pointed up like this, reach forward or to touch your hips and then just roll those over. And this is true if you're like at work, you're at a meeting, anytime, but now I'm upright. I'm not sticking my chest out. I'm not forcing anything. I'm just relaxed, but my body is supported, my upper body is supported, and my spine is straight. And this is what Feldenkrais practitioners just call, an up position. So if I was, I'm kind of looking down at the camera right now, but if I was, reading a piece of music or whatever, you want to have the music in front of your eyes, good strap, those kinds of things. Now that you're comfortable sitting, none of that should change when you put the guitar on, right? So now I'm getting, and this is true if you're sitting or standing. So now I've got my guitar on, and in this particular situation, I've got a strap that's allowing me to, like the guitar is the same whether I'm sitting or standing. Some people use footstools. I caution against using those because if one of your feet is higher than the other one, then all of a sudden your hips and waist are asymmetrical, and that can cause some bad problems with lower backs. A lot of friends of mine who are classical guitar players, if you think about it, classical guitarists sit all the time. They practice sitting, they teach sitting, they perform sitting down, so they're always sitting, and they use those footstools, and there's actually a long testimonial from a very good friend of mine, excellent guitarist and guitar professor. He had to have major surgery. It's like the L5 surgery, right? L4, L5, those lumbars. So it's kind of a funny irony for guitar players. But he couldn't walk before he was 40 years old. Like he couldn't walk without a cane. He's fine now. He's had surgery, and thankfully he's good. But man, he changed the way that he approached everything. One thing that can be, I have it somewhere around here, but one thing that can help is a cushion. They make those little leather cushions. It's like a little seat cushion, and it can rest on either your left or right leg. But basically what it does is it props the guitar up so you don't have to move. You don't go to the guitar has to all be right here, right?
Is that like those, that's like that neck up?
Yeah, that's
thing.
Another tool that you can use. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I have one right here.
We've got, that's something that we've been meaning to do a demo on.
Yeah, the neck up is really cool. Pierre Bensusson, some of your viewers might know him, great French fingerstyle player. He was another person that had quite a bit of problems with his neck and his back because he was always kind of hunched over in that sort of Bill Evans, posture. And he had to kind of like relearn how to play guitar, and he uses the neck up. So when he sits, when Alex DeGrassi sits, it's like perfect, like the guitar is like perfectly in position. It's hard to see it in this context, but here's the thing that I want to show you. I just got this online, and it's this one's called the Oasis, but there's a bunch of them. And you can see it's just a curved little cushion.
Right.
So like, for example, if I didn't have a strap or if my guitar wasn't high enough, I could put it on my right leg or I could put it on my left leg, and then it brings the guitar right up to you. So you don't have to change anything about your technique. The guitar is just right there.
Yeah. Hey, Gail, could you bring out that neck up thing? It's over by the trash can. It's over by the trash can in my studio. I got a pile of pickups and books and my studio. It's a freaking mess. But anyway,
the thing is, it's just like a lot of times people, and myself included, are reluctant to doing some of this stuff. But if you get hurt, then people will do anything to get it back, right?
That's
you
right.
take your playing for granted, and you will give anything to be able to have your body and technique and stuff back. So why not just like have an open mind and try to do some of these things, whether it's just stretching out your body before you go to play. I mean, we really are kind of like these athletes in the sense of like, I mean, even I've belonged for many years to the Performing Artists Medicine Association, and it's, compared to like for example, like a baseball pitcher, if you're pitching a ball, there's like this wind up and there's this preparation, and then there's this explosion of energy and muscles when you do the pitch, and then there's rest, right? By contrast, if you're on a 3-hour gig or you're a classical violinist or whatever, you're just cranking and cranking and cranking, and there isn't really that much time to rest,
Right.
So it's just this constant, so I always, I know we have to do what we need to do. It's like 3-hour gigs are part of making a living, but just make sure and be really firm with the contractor or the club owner or whatever that like you take your breaks, you get breaks, and when you're breaking, you break,
Right, yeah.
You're pacing yourself.
Yeah, I have a thing, I can do a 2-hour fingerstyle gig, but if it's 3, I bring along my tracks and have to use those because otherwise your hands never leave the guitar.
Yeah.
But I do make sure that after a song I'll take my arms and set them down so at least the blood goes back there for a little bit, So, but yeah, this is the neck up that I wanted to shout. This was given to me by the maker of it, and he's such a nice guy. And we were going to do a little demo on it. But it's the same type of thing that Sean is talking about with that pad. It's adjustable so you can get different heights if you need it.
Yeah, some of those things, I think that one has like little suction cups
Yeah.
that go on the back of your guitar, but it works really well, and it doesn't hurt your guitar. It doesn't mess up the finish or anything like that. They're really good things to do, but again, a lot of people, myself included, are just kind of reluctant. They're like, don't worry about that. Or
Well, you
just too
notice
lazy
this
to
is
do it.
still in the bag.
Yeah. I mean, so, but check it out. They literally, sometimes those kinds of things literally can save your life, can save your playing.
Yeah. Hey, before we go, Sean, we can't let you go without you playing us a tune.
Sure. Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, I'd love to, and I'll try to be posturally. Actually, it's okay. One thing when I talk about this, when I do workshops or whatever, when I talk about sitting and posture, when I start talking, everybody's like slouching and legs are crossed and all of that stuff, and then immediately like everyone's like gets into an upright position and like gets self-conscious. It's not about. I mean, it's partly about that, of course, but when you play, it's not about being as stiff as a board and having any tension. It's just about being as fluid as possible. So it's not necessarily avoiding one particular posture or the way that you bending or this kind of that. It's you can do all of those things, just don't stay there. Just don't do any one thing for too long. When it becomes static, that's when you can get into trouble. So it's okay if you cross your legs, just don't do it for very long. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like super rigid. It's all about just being flexible when you play. So I just want to mention that.
That's
but
a super
even
good
when you
point.
observe me play solo now, I've over many years, I'm absolutely relaxed. Like my hands, I just try to be like water or like a reed of grass that blows in the wind kind of thing. Anyway, I'll play just a little intro for that. There's one thing right there. I'm using it just says I'm using the thumb, and that's cool. That's okay. But I'm not staying there. I'm just using a chord, playing a chord, and then I'm out of there.
Wow. Wow.
That was amazing.
Jeez, you just ruined my day.
I hope you weren't going to play that tune, or I was like, oh, I think it's... But you've got plenty that you can play out if you need to.
Wow, that was the best version of that song I've heard since Ted Green passed away.
I
Holy
love that
cow.
song, and the intro is so nice. Like the verse, a lot of people don't play that verse, and
No.
I actually heard the first time from a classical recording of it, and I was like, wow, that is such a nice verse.
Yeah, wow, that was beautiful, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
You got a future, Sean.
Good to know.
Hey, so Sean, tell us about you got a live stream coming up.
Yeah, so in just about a month, on July 17th, I have a live stream on acoustic guitar through acousticguitar.com, and I'm just going to be talking about my book and playing like just a whole hour dedicated to the concepts behind it. And I'll also have special guests, Alex DeGrassi, a legendary acoustic fingerstyle guitarist who contributed to the book, and also my good friend Grant Gordy, who's an amazing bluegrass flat picker, but also a great straight-ahead jazz player living in New York, and he also contributed a bunch to the book. So they're going to be hanging with me, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. We're going to play and just we'll all talk about like what we do to keep things fresh and to stay healthy and to stay focused and to stay positive as musicians and all of that good stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. That'll be great. Yeah, so put that on your calendar, guys. Well,
I think it's actually on a Thursday, which is the same time as this show. So you can go watch one live, and then the other one will be. I mean, it'll be on YouTube after that. If it's not live, it'll all be there either
and
way.
so will this too. So if you want to be involved, do it. Absolutely. You know, guitar is a small community, and luckily I have some of the best followers. They've been with me for a long time, and I appreciate every one of them, and I'm sure you do too. It keeps us going, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're such a special community too. You know, guitar players are just it's cool. Like we're all cool. I mean, I was talking to a piano player actually one time about a little envious of our guitar community and how we just, whether it's we're nerding out about archtops and woods and gear and strings and stuff, or just talking about players or just helping each other play better. It's a really special community.
It is. And what's cool about guitar is usually like a piano player will say, hey, come on, let's play a couple of pianos together. You know, guitar players, you could sit out, two or three guys could play guitar, you know.
Yeah.
Or you don't get, hey, you play clarinet, let's play together. You know,
Right.
So
they're all envious of us. I mean, let's just
wow.
get right to the truth. They all want to play guitar.
Can you blame them? Yeah. Well, Sean, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, check that book out. I mean, tell you what, if it saves you from one little injury, one pain in the neck, it's worth it.
It is, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Rich and Wes, for hosting me. It's been awesome seeing you guys, as always. And you can find out all that information on my website, SeanMcGowanGuitar.com, and you can email me through my website too if you want to reach out. If you have a specific question that we didn't get to talk about today, just send me an email through my website and I'll get right back to you.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Sean, and beautiful playing, man. Good grief.
Thank you.
I have your CDs.
Yeah, one guy who I did want to say, Dave Smith, was at the festival, bought your CD, said he listened to it the whole way home there.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Three.
Well, I still have a CD player. I actually have a cassette player that I use and listen to, but I still make CDs, so I have CDs available on my website too.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Take
All
care.
right, bye-bye. Wow, that was great, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, what a wonderful player. And not only that, he's just such a nice guy and concerned. Who writes a book like this? You know, you don't do it for money. You do it because you want to help somebody, you know? So, boy, that is just really, that's something else. So, now, let's shift gears. And, you know, I've been watching videos of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys and stuff. Some of the videos, man, like when they did that concert, I think in Philadelphia in '84, live concert, the whole band was there, except I don't think Dennis was. But what a band was smoking, man. Jeez, those guys are great. But anyway, Chris Montez, who's a friend of mine, and I've known Chris for 30 years, 35 years, wonderful guy. He grew up with Brian and the Beach Boys, went to high school with them. And we're going to show a video of that is on, I believe, Chris's documentary. Somebody did a documentary about Chris. And they're reuniting after 50 years after high school. So it's a little 4-minute video. And so why don't you show that, Wes?
12 years. Hey, Chris,
my man.
the sweetest guy in the world.
Oh, no, come on. The sweetest guy.
You are the sweetest singer in the world.
No,
Bert asked me what was his anthem. The More I See You,
yeah.
and Let's Dance, and Call Me, and I said, his anthem is Let's Dance.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that true?
It's so good to see you again.
Right.
It's
How's it been?
wonderful.
I understand you've done some work, been doing some work.
Oh, yeah, I'm still working, you know, other than working in the fields picking fruit. Other than that, I've just been doing my thing.
Good.
Yeah, it's so good to see you. I mean, last time I saw you, I think it was a couple times when I was going off stage and you guys had just got through performing, or you were going up
Right.
to perform.
Were you at the Richie Valens show that Beach Boys played?
Yeah.
You were
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
jammed, right? We
Yeah,
jammed.
yeah, that's
I remember
right.
jamming with you at my house. Carl on
Are
guitar,
you kidding
on
me?
guitar.
We always jam together.
We jammed our heads off.
In fact, I can remember the house. You'd walk in like this, and the piano would be over there, the organ you played, and the drums would be here. And then I remember Dennis says, hey, Chris, you like Malta? And I said, yeah. He says, you want me to make you one? I said, okay.
Right.
He said, here's a secret, and he put that the
Right.
malt in it. It was wonderful. But I remember we'd be jamming, and you'd say, okay, let's try this one. I said, okay, let's do this rock tune. And that's how we did it. We were all great musicians then. Do you remember any things of the school?
I remember you said something about when the fish had his kid. He goes, he goes, and he had the kid, and the classroom goes, people were laughing their heads off.
Well, I remember we were in a class, and Mr. Gittinger was our teacher.
Manager, I remember getting
You remember? And Brian and I were sitting, he was next to me in the desk, and he was sort of baldy, and he'd always have this habit of blowing his nose, and it would be hot in the room, he'd wipe his forehead. So he says, he got a call, unexpected call. He said, I got to leave your class. And so he said to Brian, take over the class. And Brian said, okay. And so when he left, Brian gets up there and he says, all right, settle down, class, settle down. And he imitated him. And one of the things he did was, Brian, he pulled out and he wiped his forehead like Mr. Giddens. And we had us in stitches. And the funny thing about it is we were all laughing and joking around. And then when Mr. Gittinger came to we all straightened up. And Brian was taking care of the class. But I'll never forget that.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Great time. And the other time we went for football, you were going for quarterback. Or
Yeah.
the bees, or
I got knocked on my back and I went unconscious. I quit. I said, Coach, I quit. I went to the showers and I never played football ever again.
well, I couldn't make it because I was too little. And I remember Brian and I had a conversation out in front of the house there, and he said, we're signing a contract. And I said, really? And I said, so am I. And he said, yeah, we're going to call ourselves the Beach Boys. And I thought, wow. I wasn't expecting that name, the Beach
Right.
Boys. And so I said, well, they're going to call me Chris Montes. And that's the last one of the conversations we had before our careers kicked in, you know. And that's all. I've always had Brian in my heart because I grew up in school with him and in his family at the house, you know. So we all had different paths to continue. And
Are you married?
yes,
Okay.
I got a 13-year-old daughter.
How old?
13.
13-year-old daughter?
You know, Mexicans
Oh
never
my
quit.
God. All right.
Yeah, well, this is my second marriage, but that was it, you know. And I've been
Yeah.
blessed, and I'm keeping a level mind. And I'm thankful for you doing this for me.
You're very welcome.
I'm
Well,
serious.
listen, I'm going to go have my lunch.
Okay.
I want to tell you something, Chris.
Take care of yourself,
love
man. I
your
love
music,
you. I love you.
and I
Never
always
mind
will
about
love your
music. I
music.
love you.
Your music is timeless.
Okay. Take care of yourself.
Okay, you too.
Okay.
Crazy, huh? Brian Wilson, a regular guy. Whoops. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but whoops. Sorry. Just, I hear over and over again just what a nice guy he was. Just a super nice guy. And so, we'll miss you, Brian. Okay, guys, so let's continue. Again, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you post your questions or whatever things. But I want to do a little review about this guitar because it's kind of an unusual animal. This is a Eagle Classic, but it's a custom Eagle Classic. And the reason why it's custom, number one, it's a it's an almond sunburst. Now, whoops, the year of this 98, I think, and I just got it. I got it from a student. What's nice about and I was talking to Pete Farmer about it just this morning. He said, "Yeah, this particular guitar," he said, is definitely a custom order. You've got that's a Johnny Smith style pick guard, number one. Number two, I put on a tone control. Now that pickup is a humbucking pickup, and it's made by Ken Rambo, who was making guitar pickups for Heritage back in the day. It's solid spruce top, solid maple sides and back. It's got a nice bridge. It's got 5-piece neck, 25.5-inch scale length. I had the frets leveled on it. It had a couple of frets there. It just wasn't playing right. But I went ahead and had it the frets leveled. Now, I was talking to Pete, and he was saying this guitar is X-braced. And the reason I mention that is I'm toying with the idea of putting a mounted pickup in there. And the reason is just because a lot of guys like to shy away from the floating pickups. I guess maybe one of the reasons you can always swap out a mounted. But, the thing sounds and plays great. It's on the website. I'm going to leave it the way it is for a while. And then if it doesn't sell, then I think I'll put in the mount in and pick, and then we'll go from there. So it is a custom, Eagle Custom is what it is. He said that's a beautiful flame back. And I have it priced pretty good. Pretty good. So if you're interested in one of these, take a look. I mean, I think it's got a beautiful tone to it.
Yeah, all the wood on it is super nice. You can tell it kind of
Yeah.
what Pete was saying. It's custom ordered, so they kind of are able to select some of the better wood, for those. But yeah, the neck
Yeah.
is super nice.
And it's this guitar. The guy who had it, he was a strummer, doing. He was singing and doing the Freddie Green thing, but he was very careful because I don't see hardly any scratch marks at all. So I don't think he played it too much. But when I had it, it had very high action. And then I lowered the action, realized that some of the frets aren't right. We got to do a fret level on it. I had my luthier friend do it. I'm not that good to do that kind of stuff. And then I also had him mount if you can see, a thumb wheel there with a tone control. Got a nice tone, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'm saying, Dave Smith is saying, don't change it. Bring it to Yosemite. I'm going to bring it to Yosemite, and we'll see what happens with it. So
Unless someone calls up right now and buys it before you go to Yosemite, you still got 3 days to sell
right.
that thing.
Yeah, that's right.
That thing ain't gonna make it to Yosemite.
Maybe not.
Especially when you see the price. What did we settle on?
$36.95.
Let's see here. So yeah, if you go to the guitarcollege.com/for sale, you can see the all the prices of all these guitars. But yeah, there's a bunch of pictures. $36.95 for this bad boy. Check out all the pictures. You can even watch the video that I just showed again. So it's right here in this Dropbox. And yeah, if you're interested, give us a call for sure. Here's how to get a hold of us. Where is that? Boom, right there. So yeah.
Pete was saying the I'm sorry, what?
No, yeah, some of the things that Pete was saying were interesting about, like the tailpiece, right?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, you know, they don't make them with the H anymore. He said so many people have been calling and trying to get a hold of those tailpieces because they're beautiful, you know. They're nice. And
Before you put it away, can we hear it acoustically? Ryan Priester's asking.
okay, well, I just put it away, but I'll take it out again, no problem. Let me set this over here. Okay, you want to turn the acoustic mic on?
Yeah, here, let me just kill this air conditioning. We'll get ready for the hurricane, people. Ready?
Wow. It's pretty loud, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it acoustically through our open air mic there. Yeah. Anyway, while you switched guitars and grabbed that 575, we did mention it during the interview of what is the biggest pain in the ass when it comes to learning guitar. And I have a little video that I want to show you that you guys kind of talked about it. So check this out.
When did you start thinking about things in shapes?
Yeah, that was early because my granddad was really serious about bar chords. Him and my uncle both were like, "You're going to know how to play a bar chord
All the way through.
all the way up," you know. And it was what they call bar E and bar A.
That means if this is an E chord, that's an A chord, then a bar.
You're just moving the nut
Yeah.
up the neck. So
Yeah.
you're taking this and moving it up, so you can make G, A, B, C, D, E, F.
And they'd make sure that you're going all the way, running
All the notes, because it's tough to learn. Bar chords are the biggest pain in the ass of all guitar playing.
Fact.
Learning, the number
Fact.
one pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And if you can get past that hump, congratulations, you can be a guitar player forever now.
That's really true.
That's really the one thing that it takes. Like, can you play the bar chords without like just kind of stopping and like going off and doing something different?
All right, yeah. So, is it the number one, the hardest hurdle for sure?
I think so.
I think so too, because, like he said, once you're able to do it, you really do feel like a guitar player at that point, because you can kind of play anything.
Well, kind of. You know, and you look at the Beatles, man, they had bar chords down, boy. Jeez. But, man, I can't do it without rolling my hand or something. Nice.
But yeah, I mean, rather than, like you said, like Sean was saying, the fingers, or maybe you got back problems. A lot of people bow out after their fingers start hurting. That'll be the end of their guitar career.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, finally getting over the hump of being able to play a bar chord, and then, but yeah, it's pretty funny. That guy is Jason Isbell, who's a Grammy-winning like folk rock singer.
Oh, cool.
But
Very
pretty
cool.
interesting. It's funny how his grandpa made him do it, and then strum them all, get all six strings sounding. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the bar chord. It's a chord you played in bars. There's a lot of bars and chords in a bar. When you think about it, I look back at, teaching guitar, and I think, you got these kids coming in and teaching them bar chords, and they bought a new guitar. And the reality is, back then I had much stronger hands. I look at it now and I think, God, those poor kids, man. Number one, the guitar wasn't really that great to be able to play, and then you've got this bar chord fetish, that you really, after a while, you don't even use it anymore. Chet played a lot of bar chords. He was a bar chord guy, but like guys like Joe Pass, and we're talking with Sean there, and playing a lot of bar chords. Anyway, enough of that. So this is our, if you guys remember, we had one of these earlier, which is a 575, a very limited run. It's funny, they said, do you want another one? And I said, okay. Well, it took a month to get. Isn't that funny? So, I don't know. It's like they had to make it. But I've taken this to a gig, and I remember the drummer saying, holy cow, man, that guitar sounds really good, man. I sure like the sound of that guitar. Yeah, so it's with P90s. They're wound by Heritage.
What is that bridge?
Yeah, it's it looks to me like they're not buying a bridge. They're making their own bridges. I could be wrong about that, but somebody's got to make them. Maybe they've contracted it out. But that's a beautiful bridge, and you notice it's got the foot goes all the way across the arch, so it's not just a like some of them that have the feet that can conform to whatever the arch is. Let's play a tune with it. You want to?
Yep.
All right, so here's another tune from the camp that we're going to be doing. It is called, it's a Dizzy Gillespie tune, and it is called Groovin' High. We're going to do the fast tempo, I guess. We don't have, here we go.
You might need to work on that before camp.
It's a little, that I shouldn't have picked that tempo. Probably should have went to the other tempo.
Yeah, I'm like, are you teaching the camp, or are you going to learn that? Tim's gonna show you how to play that.
This tempo here.
There you go.
That's a better tempo.
Yeah, the last one was fast. But
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, and speaking of the camp, Mike Parlay just joined us. Mike was the guy that got the very last room just a couple days ago.
Oh, really? All right.
Thanks for popping in there, Mike. Gonna be cool to meet you coming up on Sunday, for sure. Glad to have you. Glad you scored that last spot.
We'll have a blast. Trust me. And Dave Smith is here. I don't think we acknowledged Dave Smith.
Yeah, we talk about Dave.
Dave. Little Davey Smith.
Dave said there's no money above the 5th fret.
That's right.
And then let's see, a couple comments on the guitar here. GMT said something special about a good set of P90 pickups. And then John Smith says, David Bronson says, that guitar has a lot of presence. It does. It's kind of in your face.
Well, I think so.
I think so, yeah. Don Boudreau just joined us. He was gigging, and he is now in the house. What's going on, Don? Good to see you, man.
What's happening, man?
And then John Smith says, wow, doing rhythm guitar in a jazz band, most chords are 6 or 5 string bar chords. That's a stable diet. Surprised. You do this from day one. Yeah?
What? Rhythm guitar in a jazz band, most chords are 6.
Well, what if you're talking about like the chart or something, maybe?
Yeah.
Like a real book chart. It has it all written out, like the full chord with all 6 notes in it,
Oh, you mean the grids? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that. I would say, if anything, it's the opposite. Like the little shell voicings. Those kind of things, as opposed to some big giant chord. You don't need that. Number one, you got a bass player usually. He's playing the root. You don't even need to play the root. So, anyway, whatever.
Let's see. Don said he really enjoyed the Surfer Girl arrangement.
Oh, great.
So if you guys haven't gotten it yet, just go to guitarcollege.com/free lesson and get it before it goes away. We just put it up this week, so a couple more weeks, but a cool tune for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to play that again. Do I need to?
No.
Good. Okay, so, shell voicings. That's shell voicings. 3 notes. That's all you need. That's all you need, boy. I wish I would have known that, umpteen years ago. That's all you need. Makes life much easier.
John said, you are competing for sound space with horns. Yes, even electric. Look at the 1930s big band guys.
Oh, well, you got a point. When you think about Freddie Green, though, think about that. Or he's talking with John Pisano about Freddie. And he says, sometimes I think he's only playing one note. So, you're playing rhythm guitar. So, whatever. I mean, play the way you interpret it. That's what makes you, and somebody else. So, I can't do that kind of stuff anymore. So, I don't do that.
Mike is asking, can I bring my 347 to sell at the camp?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, we just sent out an email, I think yesterday, or the day before, telling guys, hey, if you got something you want to sell, bring it with you. And we've done this for a few years now, and we only have a limited. There's only like 35 guitar players there, but between them all, guys end up, hey man, I'll trade you this guitar for this amp or something. There's always that kind of thing. So a lot of swapping going on or whatever, and which is perfectly fine with me. I'm going to bring a bunch of guitars so you can play and have some fun with. And there you have it.
Gordon said the Surfer Girl arrangement is fun, but the change up to E flat throws me a bit. So we'll work on it.
I hear that. Yeah. Yeah. So no problem there. Just got to work on it.
And then John said, I think Freddie Green shifted between 1 and 6 notes with multiple dead strings as another method to cut through the band.
Yeah, he probably did. He was very secretive, from what I understand, about what he played. He, from what I've read, is he had very high action. And after a while now, then they started miking his guitar, is what I've heard. So it's interesting, I think. But yeah, that style of playing is kind of fun. Now, when I do it, I play, when I do it with the band, I play use my thumb and try to get a real mellow sound. That doesn't have that cut. That's loud, isn't it? Yeah, but I don't feel a desire to do it. Maybe that's why I don't work that many gigs like that. But I don't hear it that way. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. I don't hear it that way. So there you have it.
And by the way, you do have a lesson on Freddie Green comping, this How High the Moon.
How High the Moon one?
Yeah,
Oh.
big band Freddie Green style comping arrangement.
There's also one for in a mellow tone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you want to learn more about that, go
Yeah.
for it.
Well, what do you think, Wes? We going to wind it down now?
Yeah. We're going to be off for a few weeks.
Yeah, that's right. So we won't be here next week. We'll be at camp. And then when's the next live stream after that?
So next week is camp. And then the next weekend we're going to be doing stuff for 4th of July. So the next live stream would be, next Thursday. Let's see. And then we're going to Nashville on the 10th and on the 17th. So we're back on the 24th of July. A month.
So when is the next one?
The 24th of July.
So we're not doing anything till then?
No.
So that's a month away.
Yep.
Okay, well, we should have a bunch of material by the time we get back, huh?
Yeah, we'll try to post some videos and stuff for you guys between now and then, but yeah.
I forgot to do I Can See Clearly.
Well, if we're going to do it, then let's talk about it first so we can. So, yeah, we had a live class on instant arrangement, pop tune chord melody, and it teaches you how to create a chord melody arrangement of a pop tune. It's kind of a simple pop tune with kind of a simple melody where you play the song and a minute and a half has gone by and you played the whole song, and then now you're like, now what do I do? Well, you got to turn that into a piece that you can play at a gig, so make it 3 or 4 minutes. So there's a bunch of different tricks and little things you can do to make the arrangement interesting, and that's what you do in the our newest course called Instant Arrangement Pop Tune Chord Melody, and it's available at the Guitar College store right now. And you took the song I Can See Clearly Now and made a chord melody arrangement out of it, like as the class was happening. So people kind of watched what you were doing. You kind of had an idea of what you were going to do, but you kind of showed them piece by piece of ways to keep it interesting. And this is kind of what you came up with, right?
Kind of, yeah. So, when we talked about what do you do, especially a song like that, a pop tune, and there's not a lot of harmonic meat. So then we harmonize it and Well, that's kind of just putting it through a bunch of keys and not always playing the bridge. Maybe, we go to F and harmonize it in fourths. So it's an approach of taking a simple melody and trying to make it more interesting by modulation. So it's probably a little slicker on the course. Kind of a little, yeah. Anyway, so if you, I think you'll get a nice benefit of observing that course and learning the tune. I think you start to see, wow, how a modulation could just keep things interesting. So anyway, we will see you in a month. And if you're interested in any of these guitars, why don't you let me know? And you guys from camp, I'm going to see you on Sunday, and we're going to have a blast. I can't wait. And remember, there's the Koopman room, too.
Are you all right, though?